Hello, Gelato Familia. Welcome back to another Hello Gelato Live. I'm George, the Disney Italiano, your host with the most. Today, got my good friend here, Lucas, joining me today. We're going to discuss some more in-depth things that are coming out of Lucasfilm, primarily for Star Wars, because it just seems like there's like news after news coming out, and then even some things that may be happening like for the future of Star Wars and Lucasfilm. But before we get into the conversation, Lucas, how you doing?
Doing good as always, and happy New Year for those who might have missed me out before New Year's and Christmas. But as you know, like it's pretty chilly down here. For those who live in the Northeast, it was like snowing all of a sudden a couple of days ago, and now we're gonna have another big snowstorm coming in around by the end of this week or something like that, and kind of bad situation for me because I'm trying to take a flight pretty soon, and now I'm gonna have to deal with that big snowstorm coming in.
That's how it always happens. Like everything is like perfectly fine, and then when you have something to do, that's when it's like Mother Nature unleashes her wrath.
Yeah, I don't know. Uh, you know what it is like. I wanted to move to Florida originally, and then for some reason I ended up like being stuck in New York. And now I know for sure that this is going to be the rest of my life, and I'm kind of sad to hear that. And it's kind of funny because somebody actually said like, hey, you can then like retire down to Florida, and then I'm like, that's like the last thing that I wanted to do, like be like the stereotype old people to retire down to Florida, and like it'd be one of those like people. I rather like just move down to Florida as a like a younger generation, but I don't know. Like I guess people, people like life kind of like has its own direction on however they want you to live. So
Absolutely. And for everyone watching, if you hear any noise in the background, I do apologize. Someone is outside, like either carving something or sounds like they're chopping down a tree. Um,
I actually think it's a leaf blower, but who is there a leaf blower happening in California?
Maybe, and I don't know like why in the world they decided to do it now at like 6 p.m. when it's like pitch black out. I have no idea why, but uh, but in any case, I do apologize if you guys hear anything in the background. Um, Giant Peter Adventures, Hollow Hollow, at the theaters, ready to watch Disneyland Handcrafted. Definitely, you will enjoy that, Peter. As I said, I highly recommend that documentary done by the brilliant Leslie Iwerks. Abby and I attended actually the world premiere of it up in Burbank, and yeah, I absolutely love the creativity behind of how they literally it showcases how Disneyland was built in a year, and yeah, so I think it's a great documentary for anyone who has the opportunity to see it, whether it be in the theaters or on Disney Plus or even on YouTube. It premieres on Disney Plus and YouTube on January 22nd. So yeah, that's what it's. Yeah, now that Lucas said it, it definitely sounds like a leaf blower. But like initially, like when I heard it, it just sounded like someone was like using like a saw axe, just chopping down a tree. But in any case, Lucas, I wanted to ask you, like with everything going on in the world of Star Wars and with Lucasfilm, we do know that Kathleen Kennedy is going to be stepping down as her, her role as president of Lucasfilm, and Dave Filoni, and I do apologize, the other woman who will actually be joining him. So they're basically doing like a co kind of running of Lucasfilm, where you have like the business and the creative. I still think that would still work for Disney, just because they've done it before with Walton Roy and Eisner and Wells. Um, I believe a lot of insiders are saying that we have about a month when we'll find out who is going to take over the role for uh, CEO of the Walt Disney Company. But in any case, with Lucasfilm, Do you think like Dave Filoni has the chops to literally run the company?
With the way it's going, as you know, Lin Brennan and Dave Filoni, I think I think they already announced that Dave will primarily focusing on like creating and like you know uh making new series all the time, and then straightening out the reorganizing Star Wars lore and going forward. And as for Linwin, I think she's a little bit more focused with the financial management and also, the press management and so forth right there. Um, go the way I see it, I believe having two CEOs is a pretty good direction. It gives them, both. It gives Dave more sense of like focusing on what he does best, I guess. And then Linwin Brennan would be focusing on what Dave is won't be able to like look at the other way as well too. The
Yeah.
issue about yeah, so the issue about Kathleen Kennedy in this case is that she handled all of those things, but also at the same time, because she handles so many things all at the same time, like she wasn't able to overlook at too much oversaturation of how many Star Wars series that she was creating, like such as like TV shows, movies and so forth. But there were a lot less movies comparing to Disney Plus TV shows for Star Wars, and that I think that caused a lot of you know like train wreck a little bit at the end of the road right there, where some of those stories didn't make sense, and some of the TV shows could have just like been left as a movie, which the movie could have been better off with certain shows such as The Acolyte. I think it would have been better off if it was a TV. I mean, if it was a movie. I think that goes the same for Ahsoka for me too. But like as you look at it, um, like Kathleen Kennedy had too much pressure with things going on, and it was a little bit of disastrous in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it was definitely more than enough time. She overstayed her welcome. I think when it comes to like creativity and like what direction to go with with Star Wars, because Star Wars is a very it's not a simplistic kind of franchise, if you will. I mean, it's very like in depth, and there are these hardcore diehard fans that coddle it and treat it like as their youngling. So I feel like, yeah, as time went on, where they were trying to figure out different ways of how to like tell the story, it just kind of got lost in translation. Um, that I feel. So I'm very excited to see like what Filoni and like and his team can do with it. Hopefully, it'll be something better than what has been coming out. Do you think this will have any effect on Mandalorian and Grogu?
No, I mean the movie is already being I think they're almost done filming anyways, so I really don't think that it's gonna affect anything too much unless Dave Filoni wants to add something extra before like releasing the movie. I guess like bonus scenes or some kind of teaser into it. But the way I see it right now is it's not gonna affect anything too much on Mandalorian Grogu. Um, I know there were a lot of negative, like there were positive but also negative, you know, res- reactions to Dave Filoni being a CEO and also like in charge of the whole Star Wars lore. But I have a pretty good confidence that he's gonna do pretty well on it. Only because I think George Lucas kind of like endorsed them. I guess like I'm pretty sure like the Lucasfilm board members probably asked his insight. Who would be the perfect candidate for the next generation to create more Star Wars lore, and I'm pretty sure George Lucas probably said like I think Dave Filoni is probably a better candidate at this point. So I think it's okay to say it's safe to say the upcoming future movies should be okay.
Okay. Now, speaking of upcoming future movies, one of the movies that I'm actually very curious in to see how it goes is the Star Wars Starfighter movie
Mm.
starring Ryan Gosling. I'm very curious to see the direction that they go with that, and I hope it does really well because based off of the description of the movie, I think, as I said, hopefully it's just done fully, well, but we'll just have to wait and see. But what I thought what was very interesting was that Tom Cruise ended up showing up to set where he basically grabbed a camera and was like just filming shots of the movie. So do you think that is a power play by Mr. Cruz, maybe wanting to try to dabble in not even just in the Star Wars universe, but maybe like a hand at directing something of Star Wars? Like, do you think it's him trying to get, come across like throwing out messages to say, hey, like I'm available, I'm like well equipped to do this kind of stuff. Plus, also too, you were mentioning to me of how he got kind of messed up with other studios.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
you wanted to elaborate on that as well.
So I'm pretty sure the audience doesn't know what I said to you, but I did say that Tom Cruise actually didn't have a good conclusion for his final reckoning for Mission Impossible, because at the end like Paramount didn't want to fund any more money to Tom to finalize this movie and for his like extra effects and stunts and so forth, and it had to be done through Tom's rest of the money to pay the crews and then for the production and everything. And I think Tom was pretty infuriated about that. I don't know why Paramount suddenly decided not to fund Tom in the final movie of the Mission Impossible. Considering the fact that you have to understand he like Mission Impossible series has been giving a lot of blockbuster box office sales and everything. To have this company to say, "Oh, I'm not giving you any fun," is like kind of like giving a middle finger because you just don't like that person. That's just how I feel. And I think Tom and the Ellisons, and whoever's in the big interest of the Paramount company didn't like each other as much. I'm not gonna like get too personal because nobody knows what exactly happened, but that's just my assumption. And Tom ended up saying like I don't think he wants nothing to do with the Paramount anymore. Also, he's not even like I don't think he's even involved in any spin-offs for the Top Gun either. So the way I see is that he's kind of like freelance a little bit for different studios, and he has experience with jet fighters. He piloted himself for he stunted his own in the Top Gun like, Maverick. So to have him, like share his thoughts and to have him, direct like certain stunts in Star Wars Starfighter, I think it would be a pretty good advice, or at least if he directed that part of the show right there, I think he would do an amazing job, in my personal opinion. And if should he ever be part of like Star Wars movies like involving jet fighters or like doing a special stunt on his own kind of thing right there, or teaching new cast how to do stunts, I think he would be a very perfect candidate. Because anybody watch Mission Impossible, you do realize that he's a little bit of a like he's been blessed by the space gods that he's worshiping, and that he has no fear in whatever he does.
He really doesn't. And it's like he gets upset when they bring in stunt doubles. And it's like, no, I don't want stunt doubles. Like whatever you have in the script, I want to do it because it's like I want to push myself. So yeah, so a movie like Starfighter, I mean, I could definitely see like how it came calling to Tom to say like, you know what, I would like, I want to kind of like get myself in there and see what I could do. I definitely can see him kind of throwing out those messages like to say, like in time, I wouldn't mind, being part of the Star Wars universe, whether it's like in front or behind the camera. So yeah, so I thought that was a very interesting topic that you brought to my attention. So I thought, since we're talking about Star Wars anyway, kind of like throw it into the mix. Now, when it comes to the parks, I'm for sure you probably know that at least over here at Disneyland, um, they're going to start bringing back the well, not really bringing back because it never really was here at Galaxy's Edge, but the original characters. They're going to bring Luke, Leia, Han Solo, Darth Vader into Galaxy's Edge. Now, this is where my head is like kind of frustrating with the fact, because now there are Star Wars purists, if you will, that are now coming down on Disney saying, no, you can't add the original characters into the mix. It's going to screw up everything of Galaxy's Edge. When all people were saying to Disney when Galaxy's Edge first opened was, why don't we have the original characters? Is this like a thing where people just have to find some way, somehow, just to complain about something? Or eh, like, or are these like coming from two different ends of the spectrum, that like there are people that just prefer the sequels, of what Galaxy's Edge was supposed to be, or there's the people that are like the diehard Star Wars fans that say, hey, yeah, no, we want some like classic original uh characters in here. So what's your take on that?
I mean, a lot of people have been wanting Darth Vader since for a very long time. They didn't like Kylo Ren, and they've been asking for what Darth Vader for a very long time. And now they're adding Darth Vader and saying that this is not what we want. I mean, you asked for it, so they delivered it to you. What more do you want?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
that's just my question. It's like I I didn't want a salmon on my plate. I wanted a duck on my plate, like you used to have on my menu. And then you get a duck on your plate, and then you're like, wait, now I think about it, I don't want this anymore, kind of thing. It's like you can't really ask for something and then say that you want to take that back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
This company has like funny thing about this company is that like just about 4 years ago, they like people have been complaining about woke and stuff like that, and then the whole like complaining that there's way too much diversity, there's too much like there's too many like of this content, they didn't want this. So Disney now has been kind of catering to these type of audiences, and then all of a sudden they're like saying these audience are now saying, well, I still don't like you, kind of thing right there. So
Mm.
so
And
I'm like, at the end of the day, you shouldn't cater to these type of people, because at the end of the day, they just want to complain. They're just here for negative algorithm, and that's just there's to it.
yeah.
And if you ask any of these people, like, when was the last time you went to Disney World, and if you fixed it, are you able to go? And they're gonna tell you, no, I wouldn't go because I can't afford it. And then they're like, then why are you complaining? Like,
Yeah. And I also think too that a lot of the people that go to the parks too, one way or the other, there is a demographic that doesn't even really care one way or the other if they have the original characters or not. They're just there to have a great time. It's maybe their first time ever going. They're taking their kids. So I think like there are like a multitude of like many different groups of people that just have like different like mindset of like really what it should be. And we have John Make It Rain in the house. He says nobody liked Kylo. They may as well have put a blue Lowe's bucket on his head. um, I'll say this about Kylo Ren. I feel like what I think tarnished, with people with Kylo Ren is they used him so much that it was like he was like the only antagonist that they used in the land. He was, in Rise of the Resistance, when they did the Galactic Star Cruiser, he was the main antagonist there. So it's like everywhere that you looked, it was like Kylo Ren. And I think people are just kind of tired of just seeing him. There's other great Star Wars villains such as Darth Vader, there's Darth Maul, there's like there's so many other great villains that they can utilize. So with this change at the parks, where Darth Vader currently resides in the Visa cardholder little building in Tomorrowland, that's where Kylo Ren is going to end up going while Vader is out and about of Galaxy's Edge. Now, I'm very curious too why they're only doing this at Disneyland and not Walt Disney World. Do you think that's like a beta tester kind of thing? So eventually it will happen at Walt Disney World? Um, what
Um,
say you on that?
I always thought Disneyland has always been the first thing to, do a presentation before moving into Walt Disney World. But as somebody who is more familiar with Walt Disney World and likes Walt Disney World a little bit more than Disneyland, and I can't really show this bias, the opinion because I never actually went to Disneyland, so I can't really say that. But at the same time, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's probably because the company is closer to California, Burbank, that it's easier for them to like establish something and then do Imagineering and everything over there. As to Walt Disney World, it's just like it's like it's harder for them to like tell them to do this or do that. I guess I don't know what's going on, but it always has been that the Disneyland has always gotten like the fireworks like presentation a little bit better, and then some of the like these visuals are slightly better, and they even get like the like the popcorn buckets better than the Walt Disney World. So I just feel that this whole Darth Vader thing, it will eventually come to the Orlando, but we don't know when. I guess if it goes very well, then I'm pretty sure they're gonna be like, oh, it works very well over here. Let's bring it to other parks over there. So that's just
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're kind of just like beta testing to see like test the waters because since Walt Disney World is a much more grander scope than Disneyland, it's like okay, well if this works for like the California locals, how would it work for like a lot of like the tourism and the international travelers, going into Walt Disney World. But Abby says she wants to see the Ewoks. She absolutely loves the Ewoks. When we did Star Wars night out here at Disneyland, we had to make it be where the night could not end until Abby met the Ewoks. So
Mm,
I just think that it would be really cool to have like those kind of like creatures and critters and droids just kind of like roaming Galaxy's Edge because I was a huge cheerleader, so to speak, of the notion of that Galaxy's Edge is a boiling pot of water, but you need the meat and potatoes in that pot. It just seems like it's a soulless land that like it needs to be filled in. Like aesthetically, it's done really well.
mm,
Um, but I just think it needs more stuff to see and do.
mhm.
Um,
I mean, like, I think the Galaxy's Edge has always been kind of like a double-edged sword when it comes down to the park development, and it's mostly because a lot of people were expecting a little bit closer to Endor or like what is it, Naboo for the Galaxy's Edge, but instead they got this new land called Batu, like some a little bit desert wasteland, a little bit closer to Tatooine, but it's not really Tatooine. So, a lot of fans were very disappointed about that. There's no like proper lore behind Batu either. So I do understand why people are frustrated about it because there's no actual like core identity of like what this place to for some, the good old fans out there. And even with the release of Batu, like, in the Mandalorian verse or even um the sequel trilogies, they don't really have Batu existence in any of those movies. So, it always has been a hit or miss starting from there and then going forward with other like the attractions, I guess. But I personally enjoyed Smuggler's Run. I think my personal opinion about Smuggler's Run, I think they could do a lot more scenarios than just one particular scenario. Now that I think about it, they're supposed to add in the Mandalorian Grogu mission within the next couple months. So, looking forward to that. But I do still think that they should add a little bit more, just like Star Tours, like do like a random, like random based, like whichever the mission you might get, like 1 out of 10 missions that you might be able to choose or something.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. For several things that you had mentioned. First, you had mentioned about like yeah, when they first announced that they were going to build like a Star Wars land and it was going in both Disneyland and Walt Disney World, all our heads were kind of like thinking, okay, yeah, we're going to get like, as you said, like Endor, and we're going to get Hoth, and we're going to get, just like uh, all these different planets. And then yeah, when they say it's galaxies, it's Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the planet of Batu. And like after they said Batu, I just wanted to say Gesundheit. Like it's like what's Batu, it's like, and there was like no correlation of like any kind of interconnection. It's like it's just a made up planet in the realm of Star Wars. And I could see the route that Disney was trying to go with it, because it gives them a blank canvas to do whatever they want with it. But the problem is that they box themselves into just doing like in the sequel universe. And it's like, well, that was the whole point, that I thought that you made a brand new planet, was that you can kind of experiment with it, so hopefully that they'll get there, in time, and maybe putting in these original characters is the start of that. As for Smuggler's Run, I do agree with you. I wish that they need more than just um one mission. I think they're on a good uh I think they're going into a good direction, to the fact of that they're adding more missions where, and then also the engineers can pick the location of where the mission's going to be. It's going to be based off of with Mando and Grogu, and I think it's very smart that Disney is kind of cross promoting and marketing this, and it's going to open the same weekend as the Mando movie. So that's I think that's really smart. I think that this is a point of no return for Smuggler's Run. I think like once they go down this route, they can't go backwards and give us that original uh mission and leave it at that. I think honestly it just has to keep moving forward with more missions, more locations, more character interactions. And also too, I hope that they update like the tech for Smuggler's Run, because there's a lot of times where um when you're doing the mission, it kind of like freezes for a few seconds, almost like a buffering kind of thing. And the graphics on it looks like a video game, like you're actually like looking in a screen through the Millennium Falcon. I want to actually see of how in depth that you can make it seem like you're actually flying the Millennium Falcon and not just be like a simulator. So I hope that that they can tweak that. But yeah, I think honestly they're in a good direction. I think as long as they just keep moving forward with it, and hopefully in time that we'll be able to see that Galaxy's Edge expansion, whether it's a third attraction, which we were supposed to get, that sit down restaurant, which we were supposed to get. So hopefully we get something of that nature with Galaxy's Edge.
Right. As for the Galaxy's Edge, I know that you want the screen to be a little bit more realistic type of stuff. But honestly, I think you would need to hire James Cameron and bring him into how he wants his style, because as you know, James Cameron is the only one who can actually like talk over Bob Iger and say, "I want it this way," kind of thing, right there.
Yeah. And honestly, even look how long it's even taken for them to even announce anything for Avatar that's supposed to be coming to DCA. So it's like, who knows even what's going on with that.
Like I said, like I think James Cameron is the one who's in charge of like how he wants it done. So even if they, for example, if Bob Iger says that we have to undercut or like cut the part, I'm pretty sure James Cameron would be like, "Do you know who I am?" kind of thing, right there.
That would be Cameron to say something like that.
Yeah, like I'm the one who brought you money right here. Like, no, I get to decide on how I want this, and if I want this budget, you give me that budget right now. And that's the type of person James Cameron would be. And honestly, I do think that if James Cameron didn't say anything on his end right there about the Pandora and the Animal Kingdom, I'm pretty sure we would have gotten a lot worse design, and Joe Rody would not have been able to show his true potential of his work right there either. So you have to understand those two have to get the everything that they want, and the Disney has to give them the fun that they want.
And I hope they do, because I honestly, with this new Avatar land, like I want it to be to the best potential that it can be. Like I don't want to see something half-assed, so to speak, or Mickey Mouse, no pun intended. I want to actually see like what it can do. John Make It Rain says, do you guys like the new guy in charge of Star Wars, or do you think he'll be a Kathleen Kennedy 2.0? We touched upon it a little bit earlier. I personally don't think he would be like Kathleen Kennedy. I think the whole purpose that Dave Filoni is going to be stepping in is because of the repetitiveness of the misses that under Kathleen Kennedy. So I think honestly everything that's been going on with Lucasfilm, I think they're going to try like to do the complete opposite, moving forward. And I feel like that's also too why that the decision making is kind of fast. I mean, like as fast as they made the announcement that it's in full swing. That Dave Filoni's moving in and Kathleen Kennedy's moving out. So for sure they're for the good reason. I think that they're trying to like get things like up and running as quickly as possible for the new quarter that's going to be starting for the quarterly earnings. And also next month, they're going to announce the new CEO of the Walt Disney Company. So I think that they're just trying to get all their ducks in a row before that official announcement.
I'm going to say something about his question right there, because I know that a lot of people don't like Kathleen Kennedy, but at the same time, I personally am, I don't have any issues with Kathleen Kennedy. I think she's pretty good. I think she's pretty good CEO in my personal opinion, considering that she actually has brought a lot of successful films into the Lucasfilm and kept it into her portfolio. You have to keep in mind that she had been by George Lucas's side for a very long time, even back in the what is it, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Mm-hmm.
So to say that like she's been a bad person, no, I disagree. She knows how the company works, and she knows how the film industry works, because she's been by his side and working with the two best film directors like Steven Spielberg as well as George Lucas. Was she like? Has she failed a lot? Yeah, she has failed a lot, just like every other directors do too, and producers. J.J. Abrams was pretty popular in Star Trek remake, but also at the same time, people were very hyped about him when he came for The Force Awakens. People were not disappointed about it. They were very hyped about it. They were like, "Oh, J.J. Abrams is going to be in The Force Awakens." A lot of people were very excited about it. If you didn't know, they wanted him, and then at the same time he kind of destroyed the Rise of Skywalker. But at the same time, like you can't like blame everything on her. And then I know that she's been blamed for, because she's a female director and everything, and she's a female CEO, and I feel like there's a lot of misogyny happening right there. But she also brought in Andor season 1 and 2. Let's be real here, and she's also in charge of bringing Rogue One, a Rebel One or Rogue One. I think
Rogue One.
Rogue One, yeah. So you can't really say that she's a bad CEO. In fact, Dave Filoni doesn't like Andor.
I think for me that this is the thing for me. Is Kathleen Kennedy talented? Absolutely. Of what like she done in the past with Lucasfilm and that she was in charge with, especially like in the 80s. Like I think that was like the height of her career. I just feel like more recently the decisions being made, I think it's time for a new change. And that's not just because of just Kathleen Kennedy. I think that's just for people that are running any kind of division, even like when it comes to Bob Iger. I feel like honestly, it's time. It's time for a change. It's time for like a fresh thing to see what someone else can do, because something else that maybe Bob may have not have thought of or never really pursued, the next person may do the same thing. So the same thing for Kathleen Kennedy for Dave Filoni to stick to step into that role. Now, again, is Dave Filoni going to be perfect? Absolutely not. There's probably going to be decisions that he's going to make where we're going to be like, Dave, why did you make that decision? So hopefully, like, it just gets things back on track. But I do agree with you, Lucas, as far as like with the Andor series, that was very popular. Rogue One for me, I think, was one of the best Star Wars movies. I feel like in its originality, aside from the originals, for me, anyways, I enjoyed Rogue One. I went to go see it in theaters, and as I said, it definitely kind of gave me that sense of a new hope, no pun intended, that something of Star Wars was coming back. To be honest with you, as I said, I've heard great things about Andor. I personally never really watched it. I kind of felt out of like watching content of Star Wars just because it just constantly felt like a letdown for me. But I am definitely going to go see Mando and Grogu in theaters. I definitely want to see that. I want to see how like it ties into even with Smuggler's Run and what have you. But yeah, I think for the most part, I think it's time just for a change, just overall, not just with Lucasfilm, but like even just like with the Walt Disney Company, and see like where it can go.
Oh, also, sorry to interrupt you, but I'm gonna say that Lucasfilm has finally, decided to be a little bit more open-minded by allowing Japan Anime Studio to make its own canon version of the like a Star Wars series, and it was one of the like a series from Division. I mean, Star Wars Visions. So season 1 and 3, they had the title called The Ninth Jedi, and that series is actually going to be officially happening, and it's probably going to be canon, and there will be doing a full like 24 episode series like on Disney Plus probably, and I'm quite excited for it because they're very famous studio that was working on it.
Okay. And John Make It Rain was asking, are you a DJ?
Am I a DJ? I can barely even turn the vinyl player. What makes me a DJ? I guess it has to do with the headset, probably, right?
Yeah, probably the headset, and maybe maybe a little bit of the background too. It kind of gives like that club.
Oh yeah. No, if I was a DJ, I definitely would not be sitting here and doing a show right now. I'd be just going out in the nightclub and just be DJing all day and receiving getting paid all the time. Yeah.
He says, I wouldn't mind a Knights of the Old Republic movie.
Funny thing he's saying that because Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau specifically don't want to retcon anything from Knights of the Old Republic, and because they know how popular Darth Revan is, and I think they want to actually make a spin-off, standalone series based on Revan in the future, and I think they are planning to write a Old Republic story as well too. So we're gonna probably see that. I know there's also EA Games is the BioWare version of the Star Wars Old Republic, not the Knights of the Old Republic, but I think that one is getting retconned. The MMORPG one, that's probably going to get retconned. But the one that everyone loves playing, the original Knights of the Republic, I don't think that's going to get retconned.
Okay. Yeah, see, I'm very curious to see like what direction they decide to go for. Like
I like how George is like. So, anyways, I'm not familiar with these type of video games. So I understand.
So you know me. Like I just like this much sit back. Like, but here's the thing. Like I do appreciate the fact of that, even though like I'm not like that hardcore like into the lore of Star Wars, because I know there are people like that, that go deep into as you were like mentioned, like the Old Republic and everything, and they got like the book series, they got like the comic series, they got the TV shows that kind of like are like the in between of the movies, like with the Clone Wars and Rebels and everything. So, but I think if they were to make something where it would like spark my interest to know more, um I think that would be a great way to get even not even just me, but people like me that maybe like want to know more, but it's like don't have the time to really like, sit down and read, a book or something, but to
Mhm,
visually see something.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think that would be really cool. I'm very curious as to why. I wonder if they offered anything to Jon Favreau, if they were going to do like a duel kind of thing. I wonder if they asked him and he turned it down, or if they
Oh,
did.
I'm pretty sure they probably they definitely asked him. I think John didn't want to be involved in it. Like, the man's not really like, Star Wars director. He's kind of like he wants to like not only just like be stuck in Star Wars forever. He has his role in the MCU as well too, like as a Happy Hogan as a character, and then also I think he wants, the man has always like enjoy film something else for once too. And I think he really just wants Dave Filoni to like, be successful, I guess. So they're pretty close to each other. So, the only time that he's probably gonna be involved in is like directing some of the movies, directing some of the films. But letting Dave Filoni do all the creative works.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do love how with Favreau that he has like touched uh in many different aspects of the company, like as you mentioned, like Lucasfilm and Marvel and even Disney. I mean, he's part of the new Oswald series that's going to be coming out on Disney Plus. Yeah, he was there several days at Disneyland. I was there actually during the time when they were filming. So I think that's really cool that he just kind of like goes in like in many different directions with the company. And I agree with you. I think to just subject yourself just to one thing with Star Wars for Favreau, I think for Filoni, I think it's a better suited thing. But for Favreau, I think since he does wear many hats and kind of like goes in many different directions, that it wouldn't be best for him just to kind of settle on one thing. But even with Marvel, I think there was a lot of like dry spots, even with Marvel, and hopefully, with Doomsday and Secret Wars, it can kind of uh, be brought out of the ashes, so to speak, and then moving forward, especially with the X-Men, and Fantastic Four, maybe with a newer generation with those characters, that we can get like many different phases where we just don't need the Avengers to get us out of that Marvel funk, so to speak.
Mhm.
See, but John Mega Rain says, I want a Thor ride and a Hulk ride. A sword in the stone, but for the hammer, they could make a super cool experience with lightning and whatnot if you manage to lift it out of the rock. That's interesting.
I could see the Viking ship doing the Thor ride probably. Like take me to Valhalla or something. Use the ship. He's swinging the hammer, and then like the swing the ship, and then like making you go like 360 degrees upside down, and while playing the what is it? Welcome to the Jungle and the the Guns N' Roses, just like the Love and Thunder. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
That would be interesting. Now, I'm going to ask you, Lucas, because I know, as you said, you haven't been to Disneyland, so you haven't really like experienced Avengers Campus and what have you. But from what you gather, like from your own observation, just of like researching of like what Avengers Campus is, what's going to eventually go there. Um, do you ever see a time where Marvel would go to the east side of the Mississippi, if you will, like with the contract with like Universal and everything, where we could start getting Marvel into Walt Disney World rather than just like one thing here or there, like Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, but like an actual full fledged like Marvel land.
I would see that as a fifth gate if that's what you're asking, because I know everyone's been talking about it. We don't need a fifth gate kind of thing right there, but I think fifth gate is the only option that they can think of, because there's no actual room to add any more land in some of these Walt Disney World parks, because local roads and around the town are getting involved right there, and that's a lot of pain, a lot of headache right there for Disney to uh, change all of that too. So they're gonna end up doing like a fifth gate in the very distant future. I'm not sure when, but obviously Universal still like has like a little like a gun on the head and like holding hostage of this like the Marvel series. But eventually, Universal is probably also realizing that they can't keep this IP forever, because they don't know what to do with it, and they also know that like eventually audience will get tired, and and want something new within those like Marvel Island, and even
Yeah,
like
because right now they can spruce it up, the Marvel Superhero Island at Universal, but they can't make any significant changes
they
because
I mean they can, it's just that they just don't want to. There's a difference, and they're gonna like try to hold it until like they're gonna make sure that they can bring an IP that they're sure that they're gonna bring a lot of audience and more people, and bring more revenue. And I kept saying this on numerous times. I said bring Pokemon into Marvel Hero Island instead of Marvel Hero Island, and a lot of old theme park enthusiasts are like saying that's a crazy idea. But why is that a crazy idea? It's like, a lot of kids are getting tired of the superhero genres, and Pokemon itself is like current generation adults, and the new generations who are into Pokemons. That having a Pokemon Center itself is just gonna bring like a 2 to 3 hours wait line. You know how crazy it would be to even bring like half of the islands of adventure. Being Pokemon will just like bring like make Epic Universe empty. That's just how I feel.
I do agree with you in the aspect of like where a lot of kids are kind of getting out of that superhero kind of niche kind of thing, and I think that's where DC is also having issues, and I think that's why Universal doesn't want to uh, uh, remove Marvel for DC, just because you're removing superheroes with superheroes, and it's like it's that constant continuum of like, well, how much more can we have this going on like within a theme park? I agree with you. I think Pokemon should be placed somewhere in Universal. Like, because Pokemon is like the biggest, I think, like IP that is ever existed. Um, there's so much that you can do with it, and
Yeah, even Zelda, because there's so much you could do with this. Star Fox, Metroid, like all of these Nintendo IPs right there. It just has so much potential, and the Universal could do something with it. Heck, even if Nintendo said that they're gonna bail out from Universal and decide to make their own park or something, I
yeah,
think that would have
but
been Achilles heel for
mhm.
a lot of companies.
But I find it interesting when you said that their Universal isn't really doing anything with Marvel Superhero Island because they're wanting to do something else with it. So to put all that money into Marvel, where eventually they know Disney has, they want the full rights to it, that eventually down the road, if the price is worthwhile, then it's like, well, yeah, why should we pour all our own money into something that we're not going to end up keeping, um in the first place? And then also when you said about a fifth gate, I think that would be smart with Marvel, and I feel like that is the issue that's going on with DCA, is when you landlock a small piece of land into something that should be more grand and more marvelous, no pun intended, that you can only do so much with a piece of land. Where if you had a full-fledged theme park, then you can get more creative with that. So I think that's those are some really great points. But John Make It Rain is asking, did you guys hear that a massive 90K indoor water park, including an outdoor park with Barbie, Hot Wheels, and others by Mattel, is going within 10 minutes of Walt Disney World? Um, I don't know if I thought I heard something with the Barbie and the Hot Wheels. I didn't know it was going to be like that close to Disney World, though.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's like outside of the boundaries of like the Reedy Creek area, like a region area,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah, that's it's probably probably closer to Kissimmee. That's just my assumption because there are some like empty lands that Kissimmee was selling, and at the time, I don't think Disney ever considered about buying those areas. So I have a feeling that it's not like closer to like where the primary Orlando is. I think it's a little bit further down to the west, southwest coast of Orlando. That's the only way that I could assume because um unless they're building somewhere around Lake Nona, but I really doubt that Lake Nona is gonna get like built anything because even Disney bailed out of Lake Nona when they were supposed to build a like Imagineer like campus and everything, and they completely bailed out on that, and that kind of like upset the Orlando mayor at the time. Like that was a kind of a dick move in my personal opinion from Disney's end, but at the same time, it was a pretty crazy, insane idea from Bob Chapek at the time when he wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So I think they wanted to retract everything that Bob Chapek tried to do. So they were like trying to do damage control, if anything.
Yeah. It's just a shame that a lot of Imagineers like lost their jobs based off of that when they decided to, say, hey, yeah, we'll move to Florida. They ended up, selling their house, uprooting their families. And it's like, oh, well, we're not doing this anymore. And it's like, I don't even know if they got fully compensated for that. And it,
No, I don't think they were compensated because like I said, Bob Chapek really just like ruined that situation, and Josh DeMero didn't make it better either. So it's just like, when I heard that, I was like, well, like Disney, what are you doing? Like, just stick with it, and then to make that area bigger, like just have the Imagineers like go there, and then make the park more improved or something. But now like they retracted that idea, and they made the Imagineers like lose direction on what they should be doing. So that doesn't just hurt the fans, that hurts the employees who had faith in you. So
oh yeah, and it definitely makes you look like you're incapable, and it makes the company look like it's incapable when you're making a decision and then you're retracting it, and it's like everyone's getting affected, in the mix of these decisions. It's like if you're going to make that decision, run with it. Even if it isn't successful right away, you find loopholes of how it could work, rather than
right.
bowing out of it completely. But I mean, eventually you could have, but I mean, at least if you already made the assumption that you're going to do it, kind of like see through that you get something done out of it,
Mhm.
but I guess we'll really never know how if that would have been successful or not. But
But but also with the Mattel thing, I do think that it's a good idea, Mattel, but also good idea that Disney's having another competitor out there. It may not be a big competitor, but there's not a lot of water parks out there, to tell you the truth. I think it might give lesser capacity for water parks. It gives other people to try out like something new right there. So I think that's a pretty good idea. But I don't think it should be just like forever, just only water park though. I think that just kind of kill the business right there, especially during the winter time.
yeah, I think, and I think even with Walt Disney World's water parks with Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon, I think, with like how the climate change and the weather and everything, it hinders operations with the water parks. I mean, because with Florida, I mean, no one ever really expected, for them to get like freezing temperatures, but and then even after COVID, when they started doing like the rotational where Blizzard Beach was closed, Typhoon Lagoon was open, and vice versa, they just kind of stuck with um that kind of way where before it was like they would have times where the water parks were closed on for refurbishment or what have you, but majority of the times both water parks were opened at the same time. But I don't know if it would ever really go that route. But John Make It Rain says it's supposedly a hybrid version where the roof can open and close.
I'm not a big fan of that, and I'm gonna tell you why. I used to be a swimmer. I was in high school, and then that swimming pool always like did a open roof opening and closing all the time. It ends up leaking a lot of waters from the rooftop, and then creating a lot of humidity, and also a lot of like causes a lot of natural waters to get into the pool and causes algae and so forth. It's not a fun thing. And also like we have one over here too, like in the like a tri-state area, and a lot of people don't like the idea that if you're gonna stick with the indoor pool, then you just stay with the indoor pool. If you're gonna do the outdoor pool, then you do the outdoor pool. You don't do hybrid.
Do you think it's more beneficial to do an indoor than an outdoor?
I think it'd be pretty cool to do an indoor in Orlando. That's just my opinion. For those people, who don't want to like get like burnt by the sun right there, and all those UV lights, they can go do the indoor like Kalahari Resort kind of thing right there, and then enjoy their time. And the indoor is pretty cool only because at least you don't have to worry about like outdoor like rain affecting you, or like the weather's affecting you too much. It has like an AC and indoor, but also during the winter time it might have like a heater, and then the water can heat better with the functionality of a indoor comparing to the outdoor.
Yeah, very true, especially with the state of Florida where the weather is completely unpredictable. And and then yeah, it won't take an effect of like operations where if you have an indoor, excuse me, water park where it's like, okay, if it's storming out, you could still have your regular daily operations, and I think that's very smart, I think.
And then also, I know John McTrain says no more lightning problems. I would say that that's not even remotely true. Only because even the indoors you still have to be away from the pool premises, even especially with the lightning and thunder when it happens. It still conducts electricity no matter how indoor your pool is. Like they tell you that don't even go into the jacuzzi tub when the lightning and thunderstorm happens. Like the LA Fitness also tells me not to go in there. Like so that's just kind of like a rule of thumb right there. Unfortunately, that's how it is. You know, that's why everyone hates Zeus. That for throwing that in lightning. So
Yeah, I remember when Abby and I were down Walt Disney World, we were about to ride Dumbo, and literally as we were going up, and then Dumbo just completely dropped. Like, and they just did like an immediate emergency shutdown because there was lightning detected within a 5 mile radius. We didn't even see it. We didn't see it, but it was just in the radar of it. And the rule of the land is if there's lightning detected within a 5 mile radius, it's like all outdoor stuff and like certain things get completely shut down.
that goes the same for Living with the Land. Was it A Small World, Pirates of the Caribbean? Everything closes down when a lightning or thunderstorm happens. That's just the nature of it. Especially because like the water that's functioning around outside of the tank, even it still connects through the pipes and everything. So the water keeps conducting down through the waters, water system. So that's why you would have to shut it down regardless of what it is.
Okay. And were there any other topics you wanted to discuss?
I mean, uh, I guess. Oh, he actually asked a question. Do you guys get lightning passes when that happens?
Um, as far as I know, the only way that you can get like a lightning lane pass, I guess that's no pun intended, um, is if you're like in line, like where you're about to like board the ride, or if you're on the ride and it does like an immediate shutdown or what have you, they can give you complimentary um, uh, lightning lane passes. But if you're just in the park, um, then they just, if you're not in line for an attraction, then they won't like just give them out. You have to actually be pretty substantially into the line for whatever attraction for them to give you one.
And then
I see. Does Lucas play Destiny? What's the logo on his chair, or is that just the chair brand?
it's a secret lab, but there's like a Final Fantasy 14 right there. As you can see, it's just like this logo itself is like a meteor logo from the Final Fantasy 14 MMORPG. I did play Destiny 1 and 2. I used to play 2 a lot, like during the launch, and then I just stopped playing with the way Bungie's direction was going. Yeah, but as of right now, like with the whole Destiny's direction, I'm not like entirely interested in the game. But I currently am playing Art Graders right now, so that's just another game that I'm playing, and then I also was in what is it, World of Warcraft. I think that's also another game as of right now. I just kind of went back to the good old classic version of it.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry, you were saying, because I was asking if you had anything else you wanted to
Uh,
discuss.
no, like let's see. I mean, so as you know, like they just started filling in the what is it, the Rivers of America. Well, that's pretty much gone, but they just started filling in the Piston Peak and everything. So what's your insight on like the current development? That's
Yeah, I
happening
think
right
it's funny how like everything is moving so rapidly quick. That yeah, now they're starting to lay groundwork on uh for Piston Peak. And I also heard recently, I was either yesterday or today, that they
now.
uh mentioned that they're starting to move into like the Haunted Mansion queue.
Mm-hmm.
Um where I don't know if they're gonna do an extended Haunted Mansion queue, that it's gonna like they're gonna rework it where it runs into the land that they're
Mm-hmm.
already working on, that it may like interconnect with Villains Land.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think honestly, I think it needs to. I think the queue for Haunted Mansion is just like so jam packed
Mm-hmm.
that it needs some breathing room, and I think this is the best opportunity for them to rework it while they have the land that they're constructing. John, as far as Villains Land is coming along, they didn't really give too much more information aside from that they are still doing field trip research, in a lot of European countries for like the architectural design. We do know that there's going to be one roller coaster and one dark ride. Disney kind of hinted that they may be working on a Hades audio animatronic. And if they are, obviously, it's going to be for Villains Land, because I don't think they would really use Hades for anything else. But I just think I think honestly, Villains is going to be very ambitious.
Mm-hmm.
To what it's going to be. Hopefully, they just kind of stick with what they have planned, and it doesn't get diluted down with the financial funds.
Mm-hmm.
We got Tones in the house. Welcome in, Tones. But what say you, Lucas, with like Haunted Mansion and Villain's Land? Because I honestly think, honestly, the queue is gonna for Haunted Mansion is gonna like run into Villain's Land. I think that would be a nice kind of like transition.
Right. I mean, like, as you know, I've been always like kind of like, supporting the idea of having a piston peak. But I also mentioned last time, with the whole water, the rivers being removed, and then the cements being there, it just expands the area, like for people to like move around, and then having lines right there. You don't have to like go all around the circle to get to the uh Big Thunder Mountain kind of thing. And I think that would be the best option. And a lot of people are still disappointed about the river, obviously. But and in truth, if you think about it, like that area needed to fill up in order to have a little bit more expanded room for people to walk into the villain's land in the distant future. Like, let's say that if you had that river still going on, like how are you gonna go around the area right there just to go to the Big Thunder Mountain? And with the parade happening, and then with also like the people like crowding all at the same time, trying to push each other just to get to the villain's land. How are you gonna do that? That's that. So realistically speaking, I think just putting a cement around that, and then filling up the area is probably a good idea. I'm pretty sure they're gonna add in like put a bunch of shades, like such as trees or something like that, for people to go in
Yeah,
there.
I think with the popularity of with Villain's Land, they're definitely going to have multiple entrances and exits throughout the land. You know, they just can't have like a one way in, one way out. That's definitely, yeah. And I think by kind of like, as I said, like expanding out Haunted Mansion, they can have like a maybe like an extra uh, connection to get to the Haunted Mansion, because right now that's only a one way, you
Mhm.
know. So yeah, so hopefully that'll like bring more capacity to the park, because that's what Magic Kingdom needs. That's what Disney's ultimate goal is. But I hopefully it'll just like disperse the people out where it's like not like we're all not like jam packed like a can of sardines, you know, that we could actually like spread out
Mhm.
and breathe a little. And then let's see, John Make It Rain says maybe they will build a Hercules ride. I mean, it's possible. I think it just to the fact of, since they're just focusing on Villains Land, and they had mentioned that they could use like a Hades audio animatronic with the newer technology. I think that would more so go with that. But don't get me wrong. Would I absolutely love to see a Hercules ride? Absolutely. I think that ride. I'm sorry. I think that movie is so underrated.
Mhm.
I absolutely love the movie. I love the animation. I love the soundtrack. Um, I kind of was hoping that they would have done something like that if they did like a newer kind of theme park where it was like the whole theme park, half of it was light, half of it was dark. One side represented the heroes, the other represented the villains. That's what I would have loved to have seen. And I do agree
Yeah.
with you, they will probably connect it to Fantasyland as well, because obviously that I think would be like a nice interconnection, sort of kind of like how I was just mentioning about the light and the dark. You know, you have the fantasy land, and then you have like the new fantasy land. So maybe there'll be like a pathway from the new fantasy land that'll run behind the haunted mansion and circle around to villains land.
Right. I mean, like with the way the Walt Disney World is going, like I don't think I believe there's a pretty good direction. I watched one of the VTuber actually was crying about the she was singing and crying about a dinosaur completely being removed, and she was demanding Disney to retract the idea. And I'm like, I think they're it's already a little bit too late to ask them to retract that idea. That's just my opinion. But
Yeah.
and I also said, I know this dinosaur being removed is definitely a sad part of it. Like any rides being removed and replaced is like is a tragic idea for any fans out there. And I do admit that I do miss the Great Movie Ride. To this
Oh
day.
yeah, don't get me started on that one.
Yeah, so I know how it feels, and I know people have been talking about how they miss a maelstrom instead of the frozen, ride for. So here's a thing: to business owners' perspective, if the audience is not bringing enough people to wait on the line on certain attractions, it eventually becomes a problematic for them to pay for that maintenance. They want people to wait on the line. They want people to realize that that's a popular ride.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know a lot of people are going to probably say, what about Splash Mountain? I'm not, there's no, without a doubt, like Splash Mountain had a lot of motives on why it was being removed. So I'm not gonna go to that direct discussion right there. But for the other rides, it was definitely a ride that they didn't want to waste their money on maintenance for just to cater for 1 to 10 people that may
And I
show
think
up.
Disney tried to do the dinosaur thing. I just feel like that they just couldn't hit the right notes that Universal does. Like obviously, because Universal
No,
actually
they,
has
they
like
just couldn't, because the Good Dinosaur movie was not that great. They could have just added that the Good Dinosaur into Disney Animal Kingdom. That still didn't do so well. And it's kind of funny because like I also agree and disagree at the same time that Zootopia should not actually, be in Disney Animal Kingdom. At first, I thought it was a pretty good idea, but now that I see the attraction and then I thought about it very carefully, I'm like, yeah, maybe actually it's a pretty bad idea bringing Zootopia into the Disney Animal Kingdom. That's just my opinion, but also
I'm actually right there with you because, like, in the very beginning, I'm like, oh, yeah, just bring Zootopia. It has to do about animals, make a whole land. But yeah, like, after seeing what they put in the Tree of Life, and it's just like, wow, this is just one show. We almost could have had a whole entire land of this in Animal Kingdom. And yeah, I kind of like am retracting my thought of thinking, like, would it really work? I think it would. I think a Zootopia land would do really well. I just think just not in Animal Kingdom. I love what they're doing with
Yeah,
Charlie.
yeah, 100%. Like it should not belong in the Disney Animal Kingdom now. But also, like this, I heard that the song was not that good. But why couldn't they just ask Shakira to write her an original song for that attraction itself separately? Like
Yeah.
some catchy song. Or bring Lin Manuel Miranda into the ride. Just write a one song just for the attraction for people kids to remember or something. And I heard that the song is not like memorable at all. So that's just saying. It's also kind of funny thing because Jim Show was complaining about Bluey being in the Disney Animal Kingdom,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I feel a little bit agree to disagree about that only because first of all, I do think that Bluey could have been better off in Disney Hollywood Studio.
That's
That's
where I
just
thought she was gonna go. Like, I was
yeah.
kinda scratching my head a little bit when they said that her and Bingo were going into Animal Kingdom. I'm like, okay, I wasn't expecting that because I thought being that they're revamping the animation courtyard, you have the Disney Junior show, they could have the meet and greet right in there. They're doing that
Mhm.
promotion, that kids summer thing that's going to be going on. I thought like all the pieces together that it was going to lean to that, but when they said Animal Kingdom, I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
You know what it is? I think it's just a placeholder. That's just my opinion. I think they're gonna do something really differently at the Rafiki's Planet Watch in the future. So I think they're just kind of temporarily there until they fix everything at the Disney Hollywood Studio. They closed down that whole gate area, the launch bay, and then the animation core right there. So I think that's the temporary placeholder for Disney Animal Kingdom. And then once that's fully finished and renovated, they're gonna bring the Bluey's characters over there, and then they're gonna probably do more Bluey stuff over there. But I actually had a pretty crazy take about this. Is that I think Disney Animal Kingdom should do another collaboration with a different IP, like a third party IP, just
Mm.
like how Avatar did. And I've said it numerous times that I think Monster Hunter from Capcom should be collaborating with Disney Animal Kingdom because Monster Hunter is not like they're not really monsters. They're like kind of dinosaur type of like like you with wings, dragons, like a dinosaur type of like like a lizards, like a tyrannosaurus type of like creatures. They just call them monsters, but so these monsters when they're too overpopulated, it destroys the ecosystem of the planet right there or of the world. So it is up to the humanoids or monsters to take care of these hunt these monsters, like hunt these creatures down to save the ecosystem and put a balance to the world kind of thing right there. And I think it's a perfect ideology in Disney Animal Kingdom because too many animals or certain things could cause a imbalance in the ecosystem, and then saving certain creatures is part of the balance of the ecosystem as well too. So doing a Monster Hunter as a collaboration as like a theme park would definitely do wonders for Disney Animal Kingdom's primary focus. Just like how Pandora Avatar, they're trying to do like a conservation of the planet and everything, but obviously the whole idea about fiction is there a lot of people were trying to argue that Avatar is not fantasy fiction, but after watching Fire and Ash is definitely fantasy. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and I like that approach because you're taking like real world messages, but you're putting like a fictional kind of mythological creatures or just made up creatures. And actually, they were supposed to do Beastly Kingdom, part of Animal Kingdom, where they were going to have dragons and unicorns and centaurs and all that kind of stuff. So it's not out of the realm that that wouldn't work in Animal Kingdom, because that way they can kind of touch base with those mythological creatures. They kind of already did it with the Yeti for Expedition Everest, as you had mentioned. They did it for Pandora with Avatar. So yeah, I think honestly to have like a kind of where it would be kind of like a great kind of substitute, especially since they're getting rid of dinosaur. I think dinosaurs would have really worked if Disney could have just hit that right lightning in a bottle kind of thing. But obviously they've tried multiple times and it's just not working. So I applaud Disney that if something's not working, change it up. I know everyone that grew up with the ride of Dinosaur will miss it. I grew up with Dinosaur. I know a lot of people, it's not their cup of tea, but I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. I think they could have done something a little bit more with just dinosaurs. So it's so that's my thing. Now John, Make It Rain, you said something with where'd it go? It said the desert. Would they ever build a desert land or grasslands area? Are you referring to Animal Kingdom, or what were you referring to? Let's see.
The swampland.
The swampland, I think, was for Zootopia. I think because of the swampland, like of the marsh area.
Oh, you mean like the tropical lands? I guess is that what he's referring to for the Zootopia? Oh, he rose some on Magic Kingdom.
Let's see. And then we have Paula 1966. Hello, I have a question. Do you both think Keanu Reeves would play a great Darth Revan? Let's see, for Ahsoka season 2, and Natalie Portman might be returning as Padme. Oh wait, and do you think Keanu Reeves would play? Oh yeah, a great Revan. Okay. I'll let you take that one, Lucas. What do you think?
Oh, I haven't heard that character in a very long time. It's kind of interesting because it's like an entity of like a chaos and destruction. It's kind of like a deity type of character. I don't know. Is that even like canon at this point, or like did they confirm that Abeloth is a canon? Because they're mentioned a lot in the novel, the legend, but I'm assuming that they kind of were mentioned a couple of times in the what is it, the Clone Wars. I guess it'd be interesting, but to disguise as a Padme, I don't know. But like, what? How would she take her form to deceive Anakin in Ahsoka season 2? Like, would she be deceiving Anakin in like a spirit or like a force spirit, or are we talking about it like during his time in Clone Wars? Because I can understand like, should Abeloth like disguise as an Anakin as a force spirit, then like, do you expect that Anakin might like go into dark side once more or something? Is that what it is? I'm a little bit confused. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe in World Between Worlds. So just like that fifth episode in Ahsoka. So I'm assuming where Ahsoka met Anakin in between the World of Worlds. Uh, I can say that I don't know like how Anakin will handle it, but I'm pretty sure Anakin, by that time he's redeemed. He's a redeemed character, so I think he will know that he's being deceived, and and I'm pretty sure he'll make the right decision. Should Abela disguise as a Padme, but I would love to see Natalie Portman coming back because she was technically my first crush, and when I was like 10 to 11-year-old. Like I thought she's like the most prettiest lady out there. And then when I became an adult, I realized that she was actually in Leon the Professional. I didn't realize that. So and then I think another question about do you think both think Keanu Reeves would play a great Darth Revan? No, I do not think so. I'm sorry. I love Keanu Reeves, but I don't think he would be a good Darth Revan as a character.
Who do you think? Who would you pick for Darth Revan?
I would rather have somebody who's actually like a little bit more emotional and has like that like kind of redemption type of character act right there, I guess. Keanu Reeves has like this like similar type of tone in every part of his character. If you actually watched his movies before, like in Speed, he has the same type of tone. In John Wick, he has the same type of tone that he did in Speed. He has the same type of tone that he would do in Constantine. He's like, yeah, I think I would do that. Yeah, yeah. That he does that in the Cyberpunk 2027. He's like, we got a city to burn. Like, it's like I'm like, oh god, I just realized that he's just the same type of acting. I just can't imagine him like being a Keanu Reeves doing the Darth Revan. I feel like Darth Revan would be better for what's his name? The one who did Pennywise.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, I could see him doing that because he has like many layers, like especially like the facial expressions and all that.
No, but like he actually does a lot of like imitations and like voice acting characters. Like Bill Skarsgård is an amazing actor. I can tell you that even behind the mask, I think his like voice, like he does the Pennywise, the villain type of character. He has like a different like a gruff type of voice. Like Darth Revan has to have a different type of voice type of like character, like as if he's redeemed type of character. You know what I mean? Like but when you're having like characters like Keanu Reeves, it's always like, yeah, I'm redeemed to the light side now. I don't need to rely on the dark side anymore. Like it's like it just doesn't make sense to me.
I have to say, you do a really good impression of Keanu Reeves. Because I could actually like, I never really thought of that before, but after you like that, he is like a one kind of baritone kind of like tone, like as you like read his lines, it's like, oh yeah, I can kind of understand how.
Yeah, even Toy Story 4, he was a Duke Kaboom, and then when he voices a Duke Kaboom, he's like, Duke Kaboom, ready for the Canadian motorcyclist. Yeah. I'm like, oh my god. And I just, like I said, I love Keanu Reeves. Like, I think he's a sweet, he's such a sweetheart, and I'm pretty sure he's a very kind actor right there. So I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like I thank you for the question, and I don't look like Jackie Chan. I I don't really like that type of comment because only because it's just like it seems a little bit of stereotype, but I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you though.
And then John, Make It Rain, Swampland for, oh, he's confirming, yeah, Swampland for Zootopia, but just a generic land in Magic Kingdom based on grasslands or desert. I do know that before that they made the announcement officially that it was going to be Piston Peak and Villains. Well, no, I think yeah, no, I'm sorry, not Villains Land, just Piston Peak, because when they were doing their Blue Sky kind of presentation at the previous D23, they did mention about the possibility of villains, but it wasn't confirmed. But then they had mentioned that they may do Encanto over in Magic Kingdom, not in Animal Kingdom, and they could possibly do Coco. And I do know that if they were going to do Coco and then transitioning into Encanto, that there could have been the transition right off of like what is beyond Big Thunder, because that was the whole kind of pitch, for it is like what's beyond the spires of Big Thunder Mountain, that it would kind of segue into like a desert area that would eventually lead into Coco and then Encanto. But they decided to go a whole completely different route where beyond Big Thunder, honestly, I think even not even Piston Peak, because I think of the position of where Big Thunder is, Piston Peak would be essentially beside Big Thunder. So really what's going beyond Big Thunder is the villain's land.
To tell you the truth, I'm not even sure how Magic Kingdom is going to add any another land in the distant future, because a lot of people who are unfamiliar with the Orlando land, like with the Google Map and everything, you're gonna realize that some of these lands are just too impossible to add any other additional land as of right now, like because there's like a local roads behind the park right there that's keeping the park from getting permits to remove those roads to add like additional land. And this is like one of those things that Mickey views Braden was like trying to make a point out of, like adding more land, and then would be a better ideal. But like that's like easy for any fans to say, adding a land is is that simple, right? It's just anybody land, if they say, oh, you guys could have done this, yeah, like to the fans perspective, like adding more land and ignoring all those like local roads and getting rid of them would be as simple as possible. But at the same time, it's no longer Reedy Creek anymore. It's a central tourist district oversight of Florida, or whatever they're called now. It's like run by the governor, so they can't really just say, "Hey, I want to remove this road as freely as we want," kind of thing anymore. So it's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, absolutely. But Lucas, I want to thank you so much for joining me today on this Holo Gelato Live. It's always great having you on, and yeah, definitely come back on when there's more topics to be discussed. Because as I said, I love having the conversation with you. But if you want to let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
yes, you can find me on X as I Lucas K right there. That's my new username, and then with Blue Sky, it's lucaskim.com. You can also find me as Lucas and Disney on YouTube. And I tend to join a lot of podcasts, and then I intend to like make more content in the very future. It's just that I have a lot of things going on right now, but obviously I do appreciate George to discussing a lot of fun topics right here, such as Star Wars. Star Wars has always been kind of like a heated topics. There's no right or wrong, or there's no like a proper fandoms that everyone's agreeing on the same boat kind of thing these days. So it always has been like kind of sensitive topics, obviously. But in the future, I do Oh, and also I am going to go to what is it, California around April, and I will be visiting the what is it, the Universal Fan Fest pretty soon. Which I am happy that they are adding One Piece again in there. I was like kind of like sad that they're only doing monsters and Scooby Doo, but like just like recently they said that they're adding Dungeons and Dragons and One Piece into the panel, so I'm very excited for that.
Yes, and yeah, because they had One Piece for the last Fan Fest, but it was just for like the meet and greets of the characters. Now they're actually going to utilize the Waterworld area for, I guess they're going to do a One Piece stunt show.
Oh, now they're making me very, very happy. Like I will be going back home without feeling disappointed from my last California experience. So I think this would be a very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And John Mega Rain asked, would Universal ever make a Halo ride? Mm,
With a lot of gelatos, maybe.
yeah. Where you ride a warthog?
I don't know about Warthog, but when I was a Warthog.
I don't know, John. I mean, it definitely seems like, especially with Universal, they're going down a route of with video games and anime, and I think that's a good route that they're going. I think that really fits into Universal's niche. I don't know if they would actually do Halo just yet. I think they're going to more so hone in on Super Nintendo. Um,
I think the best direction Universal is doing right now is that they're looking at outside of the superhero IPs and the Wizarding World IP. I think that's a very smart move, only because as of right now, the like a lot of people feel that it's the age of anime right now, and also the age of Nintendo hype right now. That's just how it is, and a lot of and I think Universal caught on with the popularity of One Piece, also Demon Slayer having like a really high box office, considering that it's not even the first movie; it's like a mid to almost to the end of the sequel, having that huge box office clearly is they're convinced that anime is like the right way to do to like get these IPs into their parks. So I do believe that whoever is in charge of the Universal is looking at the right direction right now, and I think and I do hope that they'll add something more into these type of IPs because that they'll bring me I'll pay them money. I'll throw down my wallet. I'll throw down my bank account. That's just how it is for me.
yeah, absolutely. Well, in any case, everyone, thank you so much for joining us on this Hollow Gelato Live. John, Make It Rain, Paula, 1966, Abby, of course, Tones, Peter, everyone that was involved with the live, asked your questions, gave your thoughts, opinions. We greatly appreciate it. And I'm George, the Disney Italiano. And as I always say, in Disney Italiano fashion, stay safe, stay healthy, stay Disney. Italiano out.